Dear learners, welcome to fourth session of sixth week. The topic of today's session is AI playbook for smart manufacturing and revolution in humanoids use. If you recollect, in the previous session, I have introduced the role of robots now. And we also studied the type of robots now. We are well conversant with robots now. It is something not very new. But what is new is humanoids. So, we will be discussing that. In this session, I will like to cover very important aspect of emerging AI, that is generative AI and agentic AI. A basic concept how generative AI is being used in manufacturing and making manufacturing day by day more and more intelligent. We will also discuss the concept of agentic AI, how agentic AI is relieving many work which are being done by our workers or sometimes knowledge workers. And the speed of operation, the speed of doing those work has become tremendously faster with the help of agentic AI. This I consider generative AI, agentic AI and humanoid as a upcoming revolution redefining the way manufacturing will function. It is redefining the way we will perform the works. So, let us begin with this learning. As a recap, I thought we will just have a glance on this picture where I introduced that the concept of smart manufacturing, which involve many things, and this picture talk about some of those aspects like smart innovation, smart distribution, smart government, smart building, whatever. How now AI is, further helping in building the smart manufacturing, smart, distribution, smart mobility, this kind of, functional aspect of manufacturing. This seems to be a very busy slide, but I thought, it is better to put all these impacts in one single slide. I have taken this data from one of the recent white paper by McKinsey, Operation Practice, How Manufacturing Lighthouses Are Capturing the Full Value of AI. If you remember that, in the second week of our course, we studied the importance of World Economic Forum, a new platform is called Global Lighthouse Platform. There are World Economic Forum keep identifying every year the companies who are using technology for their growth, transformative growth, I will say, and helping industry as such to grow further. So those companies are being shortlisted as a global lighthouses. So far in this journey was started in 2018. So far, to my knowledge, only 189 lighthouses companies has been named by World Economic Forum, and is a very strict criteria. So these reports talk about that how these lighthouses are using supply chain AI in supply chain planning, AI in supply chain management, production scheduling, asset management, quality testing, assembly and delivery. In the second column you will find the average advantage in terms of percentage. Like supply chain planning, when companies are using AI, on an average they are getting the benefit of inventory decrease by a factor of 10 to 20%. In the third and fourth column, I have put from this report some of the name of the companies and how they are using AI, Agilent and Engras. I am not going into detail, it is self-explanatory, and if you like to more detail, please access this report on net. Same way, the supply chain management, which is itself is a coordinated activity, supply chain management. Here one of the aspects of supply chain management, supplier service level increases when you use AI by a factor of 10 to 20%. And the testimonials which are given in the report are the case study of Unilever and Johnson & Johnson. Production scheduling, on time delivery in full increase at the factor of 10 to 20%. And they have given the example of ACG Capsules, which is an Indian-based company. 2 years back, this company was named as a global lighthouse. ASG Capsules optimizes production schedule across 4 parameters and 8 constraints using AI, including a novel color matching algorithm, and validate it with a digital twin. This concept also we have studied, the digital twin. So, how these companies are leveraging AI and adding value to their business, value chain I will say, rather than only business, that is what is the main criteria. Asset management, companies who are using AI, they find the advantage of overall equipment effectiveness with a factor of 10 to 30%. And the report talk about the Aramco, and this is a very general application nowadays. Most of the companies are start using AI and predictive analytics on their assets performance, for governing of the asset performance, for monitoring of their asset performance and whatever. Quality and testing is a very important aspect. Quality and testing, the first pass yield increases. If you use AI, in a perfect manner, in quality and testing, processes, there is a likely chance of increase of yield, that is your production, by a factor of 30 to 40%. So like that, you will find in this report quite a few interesting, parameters, which are eye-opening to and the rest of the industry. Why they should not use AI, though it may require some, some investment, and you should companies, rest of the companies should come forward to make use of AI as much as possible. I try to define here the levers, just to make the subject little more interesting. We all understand by the lever, AI levers. I say there is no formal definition of AI lever. I say let us have a levers. So AI is being used for generative design and simulation. AI is being used for big data analytics, process control and optimizations, demand forecasting, marketing price optimization, predictive maintenance, and customer service automation. All these, levers of AI are adding or helping, various, part of the value chain, or I will say the full, all, element of the value chain. We have shown over here a value chain like R&D, raw material supply, production, sales, marketing, customer service. So if there is an opportunity to use AI in entire value chain, either by generating design and simulation, or big data analytics, or process control, and a couple of other, as well as the levers. This is also very important slide, a little busy slide. I try to bring here all 3 important characteristics and the aspects today which are under discussion and which are being used by the companies at different stages. We are aware of that, traditional AI, is a, and we studied in a second week of our course, what is the traditional AI and how it is helping. So I am not discussing that. Then we, in the beginning, I mentioned about the generative AI. What is generative AI? Is a content generation, transform and summarize and automate workflow. We will be, discussing this in little more detail in subsequent slides. Similarly, what is agentic AI? Uses tools and API, calls API. What is the difference? Somebody asks, what is the difference between generative AI and agentic AI? Like you employ agent to do some work, Similarly, systems can employ AI to do some work, While the main, function of the generative AI is to generate, to generate new ideas, to generate new images. So here, more and more generation, creating new kind of artifacts, And here, you are employing AI to perform the desired task. You need not to involve, AI will do for your task. We will discuss further as we go along. I thought we revisit how the artificial intelligence works, which is the parent technology. So this slide gave a glimpse of our previous learning that whenever we want to use artificial intelligence, we have to work on a problem. Then we have to be very careful about collection of the data. Garbage in, garbage out. Data cleaning is a very important aspect in case of artificial intelligence. Data collection, preparation of data. This is again a full of work. A lot of considerations are involved. Sometimes we call it data engineering also. Then we have to, depending upon the problem, we have to make use of the algorithm. So thankfully, today the cloud systems provide the ready algorithm which has to be customized, which has to be parameterized. So once you are clear that which algorithm has to be used, then you select and then you use that. Then this is algorithm and model, they work together. In fact, algorithm work on the model. So then you have to train the model as per your requirement. For example, suppose we are developing a system, AI system for fraud detection, then we have to train this algorithm for the kind of fraud you are looking for with some data which is having the past history of the similar kind of frauds. So training the model is very important, and without that, AI will not function correctly. So if you have the old models available and you don't train with the latest data, then you may not get the right or desired results. Then evaluating, the testing this model with some examples, with some tests, that is also one of the important aspects of the AI life cycle, I will call it, and deploying model and ethical consideration. So these are the 7 steps, not the 8 steps, which you may consider whenever you want to develop, design and develop and deploy AI system. You have to go through all these steps. Now, little bit about the generative AI. So we all are conversant with this term called ChatGPT. Basically, I like to give you a as we know, in case of generative AI, we talk to the system. We give a command to the system. That is our language. So you require a natural language model, which will listen our talk or our speech, or which will understand what we are writing on the command and translate that into action. So one part of generative AI is the language model, large language model. Why we call it large language model? Because you can talk in any language, and everybody is having a different tone, different way of talking. So system should be so intelligent and should be capable of understanding each and every style and mode and type of these languages. Second part of the generative AI is a transformational model. Large language model transformation, which are being trained on the data, which are being trained on the these are the collection of billions of data. A few years back, 2 years back, I remember the ChatGPT has revealed that they are training their transformation model by 3 billion data, 3 billion data. So the two part of any generative AI, one is that the language model, other is the transformational language model. You can see here that ChatGPT, large language model that is trained vast amount of data text, allowing it to interpret and generate human-like textual output. So whatever output you are getting on the screen or whatever, it is also coming from large language model. And what is the foundational model or transforming model? Large language model, learning model, they are trained on the broad set of unlabeled data, fine-tuned and adapted to a wide range of application. I will invite you, please try to study this subject in more depth, which we are not covering here, because our purpose of this session is to introduce you that how generative AI is being used by manufacturing. This is a depiction how the large language model and transformation model are working. So you can see that here I have shown the ChatGPT is having two models. They work on two models, language model and transformation model. And you can see when you talk to ChatGPT or you write something that is called rational, which is coming from your mind, and then ChatGPT will pass this to the language model to interpret what this person is saying or what this person wants, and accordingly the language model will give the instruction to the core, that is the transformation model. It will employ the particular section of the transformation model. Suppose you want to you have a scan image or scan document, and you want to convert that document into text document. So once you upload that document and give a prompt that please translate or please convert this image text into the actual text, the large language model will understand what you want, and then it will go and handshake with the transformation model to use the correct algorithm and which has been trained already on those kind of images, and then start translating the images into the text, actual text. So this kind of thing happen inside the ChatGPT core system, which we don't see on the screen, but sometimes we see the code. Some of the generative AI tools, like Perplexity AI, they generate the code to execute your action. So that is maybe that there is an option in ChatGPT. You can see the code which is running to execute your command. So I thought with the help of this example, I will further elaborate how the ChatGPT kind of generative AI tools are working. So with this limited knowledge, let us proceed further. And this is I will invite you to go through this YouTube video, which has been, you will find a very interesting talk or technical explanation, the way how the ChatGPT is working. And this is basically MIT Sloan Institute has developed this video, 46 minutes video for both technical as well as non-technical person. So it will be easy to understand that. A very important aspect of using generative AI is to learn how we should give a prompt. This is the same way a mother talks to her child, that whatever you want to get done from your child or you want to teach the child, we ask in a certain way. Child will not understand the language which you are talking to your boss. So you have to train yourself to ask the child, to learn the child, and to do something. So it depends upon that. How you are talking to your child, what kind of language you are using, so that he or she can pick up that fast, and then he or she can do the action as per what you wanted to have. So same techniques apply and limitation apply here with the generative AI tools. So the art of asking the questions, art of defining your problem, this is again a technical subject. And for that, you may have to study something called prompt engineering. prompt engineering, those who wants to go in little more depth, like you want to generate a code, which as we mentioned that, you can generate the code, your software code. So for generating that particular code, what kind of command I should give? What is the requirement of the system so that it will generate the code as per my need? So that is all about the prompt engineering. Prompt engineering. So you will find on this slide some of the explanation which I have taken from this article published in MIT Sloan magazine. MIT Sloan magazine. This is only for reference purpose. Quite a few slides you will find the noting of reference purpose. So I have included these slides here just for your reference purpose, not the detailed explanation which I should mention, because time is not so much available. This is another slide which gave us some of the use cases of ChatGPT, that how ChatGPT, those who are not very conversant know how ChatGPT is being used in different business functions like customer service, sales and marketing, legal compliance, human resource development, and software programming. The information given in this slide will be useful for all of those. And for a little more detail about this subject and to know how LLM, large language model work, I will invite you to see some of the links I have shared on this slide. Very important, site which you will find, for your learning purpose is deeplearning.ai. I will anytime I will recommend those who wants to go in little more detail about for learning of AI and various branches of AI. You can explore. You can register deeplearning.ai. You will find a very good stuff over there. And some YouTube videos which I have included over here. This is again out of my interest. I thought I found this picture in one of this seminal paper which was published in Science Direct last year, leveraging large language model in next generation intelligent manufacturing. Now we are switching over to intelligent manufacturing. How large language model or generative AI is being used in manufacturing to make the manufacturing intelligent. So this single slide give the possibilities and areas of functioning and methods which we require to employ so that large language model become more and more productive for us. So I am not going to explain you. In case you are interested to go through this the various aspect which has been detailed in this slide, you can please access this detail on this paper. Now coming to the important aspect that how manufacturing is using LLM. So first I have defined in this slide the key characteristics of LLM before we come on the manufacturing. So rich world knowledge. LLMs are having the rich world knowledge. Like suppose there is a manufacturing plant of automobile manufacturing. So the LLM for automobile is already gather the data about various kind of the activities, various kind of functioning of functions of automobile industry or automobile manufacturing plant. So this is something very important. There is a rich world knowledge. General task solving. LLMs are being used normally for general task solving, not very research oriented kind of problems, which is still these are in the development state, I will say. But to a large extent companies are using LLMs for solving their general problems. So general problem may be in range of the quality, some suggestions. Suppose you have developed a design and you want to ask LLM that what may be the better way of doing this design, some suggestions, some review. So all these things are very common when we use LLM technology, LLM tool I will say, for improving our work or generating some new ideas kind of thing. Complex task reasoning. This is also very important function of LLM. That LLMs are being used for complex task testing, handling the complex task which is sometimes difficult or time consuming for a human being. When Excel came, the calculation used to take before that a lot of time. Once we start using Excel, that calculations are being done within no time, within minutes of time. So this is the way now LLMs are being used to solve the problem of manufacturing also. In this slide, I have given him an example of IoT. On the left hand side, you will find IoT. We all know that IoT is being used in the manufacturing for collection of the data, collection of information from sensors and whatever sources. But if we use IoT along with the LLM and whatever data has been captured, and if using a LLM or embedding LLM with IoT, it talks about or gives the direction, there is going to be a problem in this device. Earlier, this action has been taken by the cloud. The cloud, when we have to feed the data, IoT will feed the data or transmit data to the cloud, and then cloud will decide that what is the problem in this device. But with the help of LLM, by and large, companies start using LLM at the edge. At the edge, there only you will come to know what is going to be the problem. So, and this is again in the same paper which I have talked about in the page 10, and many companies have already implemented this. And I will say this use of LLM to develop the intelligence in the manufacturing is on the evolution stage. It is not fully matured, but I am sure that in the next 1 or 2 years you will find that LLMs will step in the manufacturing in a very big way. So here I have given the steps, LLM add natural language. This step which whatever I was trying to show over here, these are the 5 steps which you should know. LLM adds natural language understanding to IoT. Why machine is overheating? Is there any anomaly in the compressor data? So LLM will be able to understand. Okay. LLM translates human intent, machine executable action. IoT device now follow high-level language instructions rather than fixed and pre-programmed rules. Pre-programmed rules was that now device has to stop. But here if there is a self-healing, self-recovery process available with the IoT device with the help of LLM, LLM will give the SOP or the instructions how you recover that, and IoT device can recover. LLM integrate AI model for richer interpretation. LLM orchestrate complex workflow across devices. Across IoT device become autonomous, self-monitoring, as I mentioned earlier in the second step, and interactive and responsive to humans. So this is a kind of new development which we are seeing in the field of manufacturing. Very latest development, I will say, not more than 2 year old. So these are a few other examples which you can go through. Now I'm briefly touching about how the AI agents are functioning. This is a one article which published on Microsoft site. You can go through this article. And again, this is again reference material for you. Now I'm switching over very briefly about the humanoids, and probably we will discuss in the next session a little more about the humanoids. But I thought I will like to conclude with this slide. What is humanoid robots? Humanoid robot is a robot designed to resemble the human body in shape and movement. You can see the design. I have included some of the NVIDIA videos over here. If you like to go through little more details how the NVIDIA is developing and using humanoids, is a quite interesting video which I have included over here. They generally have a head, 2 arms and 2 legs, so which were not there very quite necessarily in case of robots, but in case of humanoids, because they do some of the work like a human, which we are going to see with some examples. The main goal of their design is to interact with the human tools and environment, core technology. So let us now move to see some of the examples which I have collected for you. This is the example which I have taken from the industry. You can see there is a robot called Deep Robotics and Industrial Mobility. A robot called DR01 Humanoid, developed by this company deeprobotics.cn. Deeprobotics.cn. And what this robot is doing? Developing embodied intelligence to navigate complex industrial terrain. Sometimes you have very dangerous terrains, and humans humans over those terrains may be dangerous or risky to their life. Now robots has been developed which does the function, the work of the human, and they can easily walk or they can go in those terrains. This is a robot which BMW is using. This is a live robot. I am not. You can see I have included the links. You can play this YouTube video. You can yourself see that how this kind of robots are helping BMW. The embodied intelligence, developing embodied intelligence to navigate complex industrial terrain while primarily known to quadruples human arms to bring dexterity and adaptability previously only possible by humans. So dexterity is a art of learning technology. Dexterity is the art of learning the technology. So these humanoids are having intelligence. They learn. It's not necessary that you only whatever you are trained, they will do. They will also learn their own. The way we learn and then we perform different actions. So they are capable of showing some of those capabilities of the human beings. Earlier robots were having fixed kind of actions, but these robots which are coming, new generation robots can also take a decision, can take some action which has not been asked them to do that, but they will, depending upon the situation, they will take those corrective actions. This is a Tesla Optimus robot, very popular, and Tesla is advertising and function of this robot, quite a few forums, and you can go through the functionality. They claim that this robot Optimus starts functioning in the factory just like a worker. You can use them just like the factory workers. They will learn themselves. You just train them a little bit and they start learning themselves, and they will do the function of the workers. And Tesla wants to have the production in millions of these kind of robots. So we don't know how the industry is going to be affected. Once these robots come in the industry, then of course there will be a crisis in the jobs. If they start taking over the jobs of the human being, especially in the new industries, Tesla kind of companies can put these robots instead of hiring the human beings. So quite a few robots I have included in this. You can go through these examples. I have included the related videos also, and some of the details which has been found on their sites, which also are, the links has been provided. This is a robot which is called Digit, by Amazon, and they are using in their warehouses. So, and this is a robot by Xiaomi, which is a Chinese company. They use their robot for research purpose, a research platform transition to manufacturing aid. So I'm not going in detail of these robots. I've given you enough hint, and some of the basic idea. And I'm sharing here the links, and the document which you can refer further, or the YouTube videos, So this is a welcome, development, and it suffices to the Industry 5.0. If you recollect that, there are three aspects of Industry 5.0. Human centricity, that now the machine should be more human centric. So the tedious tasks, and the dangerous task which has been done by the humans, especially in the mines, and some very difficult terrains, is being now taken over by the robot, humanoids, those who work just like a human. So that is a human-centric approach. Sustainability, general purpose hardware means last. So now with the coming of this kind of development generative AI, robots, humanoids, we find that the principle of sustainability are being promoted. And similarly, the resilience. In an era of softly humanoids offer a fluid work. When you use the machine is having tendency not to get tired. It's a resilience. It has capacity to work 24/7 without any stop. So resilience factor is being improved now with the help of this kind of new technologies. So I wanted to share all these new developments in this session. I hope you have learned, or you would have glanced, you would have noticed that now actual AI revolution has started with the help of these kind of technologies. Thank you very much. I have also included in this deck quite a few examples which you can go through, and the reference paper is also mentioned over here. That's why I wrote the AI playbook. So how the companies are making use of AI for different functions, how they are impacting their business. Thank you very much.